Well, hello and welcome to Shelf Life. I'm Kimberly Dykman. Now, each week I have a great opportunity to bring you the real people behind some of the most fabulous books hitting the shelves today. Now, my first guest she's going to floor you. She's a healer, a graduate of both Yale and Columbia, married to a pretty sharp guy, sculptor from New York. And if her presence and her capabilities don't get you, the book Immortal definitely will. So please join me in welcoming Traci Slatton. Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations, because you've got some phenomenal news. We'll dive in just a second, but tell me what is so great that just happened.
Well, Twin Star Entertainment optioned Immortal, and they're very excited about the novel, and they're moving ahead full speed to try to turn it into a film as soon as possible.
Well, that is definitely great news about the option for the book itself, which was published by Bantam Dell. But for those of you that aren't familiar with the book just yet, who don't have it on your nightstand, give us a synopsis of the story.
Immortal is a rags to riches to burnt at the stake story. It's a journey of spirit, a journey of faith. It's an education of the heart. It's a story of an orphan boy on the streets of Renaissance Florence, looking for his origins, looking for true love, looking for his place in the world.
Mm-hmm. And actually, well, how did you pick Florence as the setting? Because there's so much life in that setting, and it actually becomes its own character. Why Florence?
Well, Florence was this sort of special, coagulated and concentrated area of philosophy, education, art, learning, literature during that certain period from, like the 1350s to 1500. In that period of time, it was very concentrated. So much was happening. One of the popes called it the fifth element of the universe. It was a center of banking and commerce. It was the New York of its time.
Right. This book, first of all, it got me at page 1, and I could not put it down. And it's not every day that someone just says, I'm going to write a book, let alone a 500-page novel. So what was that like to put pen to paper and put this novel together that covers 2 full centuries, hits literature, science, language, government, all in one fell swoop?
It started when I was pregnant with my 3rd daughter, and I was working on my first book, which is a nonfiction book on science and spirituality. And I was researching hard science, the morphic fields, the quantum domain, and my pregnancy was waking me up at 4 in the morning, and I would get up at 4 just yearning to write fiction, to tell a story.
So what was the evolution of the characters themselves? Do you feel that they just popped into your noggin out of your love for the Renaissance period, the influence of the folks around you, or was it that the characters popped up and they ended up writing the story themselves?
Well, all of the above, I think.
Okay.
My husband, Sabin Howard, is a Renaissance sculptor, a classical figurative sculptor. So for him, the Renaissance is alive and well every day. And I had been hearing about the Renaissance, all the great Renaissance artists and thinkers, and then also there was my healing background, where I sort of deal with people who are sick or in crisis, and that background brings up certain questions about the nature of life and the nature of good and evil and the nature of God. And as a healer, I would see amazing, wonderful people really suffering, and so the question is, how can a good God allow suffering? Mm-hmm. So it was sort of that combination of my husband's Renaissance all the time, every day, and my work as a healer, my background as a healer, and those things merged to start to create this character, Luca, who meets all my Renaissance heroes, from Giotto to Da Vinci.
Da Vinci, Botticelli, gosh. Well, tell me about some of the characters, besides let's start with Luca for the heck of it, because, and the play on words with Immortal, of course.
Luca is the heart that's wandering in search of an education. It's love waiting to fulfill itself. So that's sort of Luca's role, and he's experiencing everything. And so my question is, how do we find, faith in the divine, hope, love, belief in love when the worst happens? And so for Luca, the worst happens over and over again, just the worst.
For years and years and years.
For years and years and years. And he still manages to affirm, goodness, and he manages to affirm love and faith and communion with the divine, despite the just horrific things that happen to him and the things he witnesses, the tragedies he witnesses.
Right. Why is it there's a love story within this, not just with him and wanting to keep his life going, so to speak, but is it Madalena? Madalena shows up so deep into the book. And of course, average Jane Doe reading this thing, don't give up. It's, don't give up on finding that true love. And he really doesn't, but she shows up so late in the game and for such a short amount of time. Why did you plop her in way back?
He has to earn it. He has to earn this love. And, Immortal is an education of the heart and a journey of faith. And there's certain markers that Luca has to pass, the capacity for unconditional love. He's tested by his love for the young Leonardo da Vinci. He gets tested, and his capacity to shatter his own definitions of the conditions he places on love.
All right. Maybe this is a silly question, but do you have a favorite spot in the book, a favorite decade within the book, or a character, or something that's just, oh.
I like the scenes with the young Leonardo da Vinci. And people who read it tell me those are very light. They're lighter than most of the other, Luca's happy. Mm-hmm. And I really had fun creating Leonardo, the young Leonardo. I imagined Luca as his tutor. And so the two of them are very close. And Leonardo, even before the Da Vinci Code, was one of the top 10 most interesting people in history. Uh-huh. And so inventing him as a young, as a boy, who's the boy out of which this phenomenal thinker, inventor, painter, artist, philosopher came from? So who is the boy that was the seed of that man? So I had a lot of fun writing it.
Oh, I can imagine.
He comes out, he's a lot of fun to read too.
If and when this actually makes it to the big screen as a film, can you see something else coming to life within the book itself?
Well, I hope, the part of me that's a healer hopes that people are on a healing journey as they read the book. Mm-hmm. I mean, my number one goal for this novel is that it's fun. I want people to read it and have a great time, enjoy it, and come away saying, like after a good meal, saying, wow, it was so satisfying. Mm-hmm. That's, I think any writer, any novelist who does not have that as their primary goal is in serious dereliction of their duty as a novelist. Your first duty is to entertain. Mm-hmm. The Twin Star Entertainment, who bought the film rights, they love this book and they get it and they're passionate about it, and they had the exact same experience that I did about this being about love and death and kind of the it's an epic, but it has universal human themes.
Right. This is not only in the United States. This book has hit how many other countries? It's obviously so many people can relate to it that it's been put into other languages. So what have you achieved with that? What other?
Oh, well, it's in 7 other countries. Let's see if I can name them all.
Yeah, here's a quiz for Traci. How many countries are you in?
It was out in Poland, an early version, and it's out in Russia, and it's out in Spain. It's coming out in Greece, Brazil, Serbia, and we just had an offer from a French publishing house.
Oh, you've got some French in there. I think. Yeah. Wonderful. That is fantastic. So, okay, Traci, we're going to kind of close this up with something that we'd like to know about every author that pops on the stage here, and that is, what do you feel is the next step in your shelf life?
Well, I am working on a sequel. Right. Luca has 2 sons.
Good news, at least for me.
He has 2 sons he didn't know he had.
Get out of here!
And one of them becomes an inquisitor. And watches Joan of Arc being burnt at the stake and has a kind of awakening because of that. And one of them is an assassin. And
oh my gosh.
So they eventually come together, fall in love with the same woman who's the last Cathar woman, and one of them gives his life for the other 2 at the end. So.
Oh my gosh. And you wrote that without being pregnant, huh? See, it wasn't about the pregnancy after all.
Right.
Or you have no child to credit or to blame. For the next book, right?
Right.
Well, Traci, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And that is the time that we've got with Traci Slatton for Shelf Life. And to get some more information on Immortal and the up-and-comings, we can go to TraciLSlatton.com. Thank you again.
Thanks, Kim.
I want an early copy of the next book,
if
possible. I'll give you a Finsky for it, all right? Again, thank you for joining me at Shelf Life. I'm Kimberly Dykman, and we'll see you next week.